Alright guys, I'm Brandon and this is episode 4 of Brandon Burning Food. Welcome back. Today we're going to be making meat sauce. I've got my meats right here. I've got a ground mild Italian, hot link Italian sausage, and a pound of ground beef. Over here is our sauce base, and yes, I am using jarred sauce for this recipe. I'm going for easy here, so I just really don't feel like making tomato sauce from scratch tonight. Also, it's not going to go into the dish and just be what it is in the jar. We are definitely going to be doctoring this up a bit. As you can see, the onion and the garlic right there. I've got my farfalle. This is a great pasta for meat sauce. Spaghetti is good, but something with nooks and crannies like farfalle or rotini or ziti are really great for meat sauces. And in the back, I've got a big loaf of bread, because what goes better with pasta, aka carbs, than more carbs? I'm going to be making garlic bread. Alrighty, let's get to it. Alright, so I've got my pan here preheating, and what we're going to do now is we're going to brown our meat. This is the first step because you can set this stuff aside while you prep the rest of the stuff and get the sauce looking like a sauce before you add the meat. And all we're really doing here, especially for the sausage links, because like I said, I am using 3 different types of meat here: ground beef, ground pork, and Italian sausage links. For the sausage links especially, you're not even really cooking them. You're just browning them on the outside, and then they're going to finish cooking inside the sauce. So, without further ado, we've got our pound of ground beef right here. And that's exactly what we want to hear, is that sizzle as soon as it hits the pan. That's how you know your pan's hot enough, and we can brown this up without cooking it. Ground beef is done. Also, before you start this, make sure that you have stuff to set these meats aside on before you start cooking, because once it gets going, it is a pretty quick process. So I'm going to crack open this Italian sausage and do the exact same thing that I just did to the beef. You'll also notice that I didn't completely drain the fat out of the pan. That's on purpose. We really want them to start to mingle with each other. So here we go. Not as much of an initial sizzle as I would like, but oh well. Still cooked just fine. Last but not least, for our meats, we've got our whole sausages. Add these to the pan. I'm going to use 4 of them. And we are just going to brown these, probably about 1.5 minutes per side. Just to get some color on there. They'll finish cooking in the sauce. Here's what they look like post-flip. It's a little strange. The casings sear kind of funny, but don't worry, that's what it's supposed to look like. Like I said, we aren't cooking, we're just putting some color on them. It's going to definitely deepen the flavor of the sauce. And here are our finished, well, not finished, but browned meats. This is going to be a meaty one. Looking forward to it. Now on to the sauce. Alright guys, it's sauce time. As you probably noticed, I have switched to a bigger pot. This is going to produce a lot of sauce that I know I'm going to be freezing and using as leftovers, so I switched to a bigger pot. We've got it preheated. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to saute some onions and some garlic. Now, that order is important. Onions first, then garlic. Garlic doesn't need much time on the stove before it starts to burn. You basically just want to cook it until it's fragrant, but I'll show you that in just a second. So, here we go, onions in. And again, if you can hear that, that's what you want to hear when your onions hit the pan. You want to hear them start to sizzle immediately. So we're going to give these a really good stir. And they'll probably be on here for about 1 minute or so. You want them to start sweating and start turning translucent and getting soft, but you don't want them cooking too much. So I'll be back when that's done. Alrighty, now the onions have been going for about 1.5 minutes now, and they're looking like they're supposed to look. Definitely softening up, relaxing a bit, and they're also starting to get really fragrant, which is the important part. So we're now just going to add a pretty generous bit of garlic. Bam. You do this afterwards because garlic burns pretty quickly, so it doesn't need too long. I would say 30-45 seconds, 1 minute tops. Really, you know it's time to add the sauce when you can start to really smell the garlic. Oh yeah, it's starting to smell and look really good. So I'm going to keep moving this around, letting everybody kind of get acquainted, and I will be back. Alrighty, everybody is very well acquainted in there, right at the consistency that I wanted it to be when we add the meat. So the first thing we're going to add is all of our ground meat. Now you don't want to add the sausages yet, but the ground beef and the ground pork, absolutely. Also, that fat that didn't drain off all the way, add that. That's flavor. It's really, really tasty. We're just going to kind of mix until everything is well incorporated and we've got a homogeneous mixture. Kind of. Just like that. Yeah. Alright. And then you basically just want to bring this back up to the point where you can hear it bubbling and add your sauce. So I'll be back to do that in just a second. Alright, we got a healthy bubble going on with our beef, pork, onion, and garlic mixture. And we're going to add our sauce. The way I recommend doing it, especially with this quantity of meat and other stuff in the sauce, go ahead with one full jar. Save the jar off to the side and just start stirring it in. Because we're going to have to give this sauce some room to reduce. So as much as that might look really good already, it needs to cook some more so that the meat flavors get in there. So yeah, I'm going to add some more and I'll come back when I've got the consistency where I want it. Alright, so we're right on the edge of getting a good solid bubble going with this sauce. So what I want to do now is add our sausages. Ground, and you're just going to nestle them in. Cover them with the sauce. They're going to cook in the sauce. And let me tell you, these things come out like butter. It is unbelievable. Some people cut them in half before they put them in there. You don't have to do that. You can. Doesn't really matter. I don't, or at least I didn't tonight. So yeah, what I'm going to do now is let this thing come up to a bubble. Turn the heat down. I'm at about 6.5 on my stove right now. I'm going to go down to about a 3.5. I'm going to put the lid on and I'm going to just leave it for total cook time, probably about an hour. I'm going to check it and stir it about every 15 minutes. Alrighty, I've got the consistency just about where I want it and it's just about to start bubbling. Now this is where we want it to be. To get this consistency, I used all of both jars of pasta sauce, plus about 1/3 of 1 jar's worth of water. I basically rinsed it out real quick and then poured the water into the sauce. That gives this some room to reduce and thicken up while everything kind of cooks together and flavors each other. But before we set this down for a little while, we're going to add one more thing. Now I never claimed that my food is healthy. I claim that it's good. So here's some butter. And we're just going to stir that in, give it a chance to melt. I like to let it sit up at the top and just kind of make circles around it. It will incorporate into the sauce. And then we'll have some nice, it gives it almost like a velvety type of taste or texture. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's wonderful. And like I said, not healthy, but if you're watching my channel and you're on a diet, you're watching the wrong channel. So once this gets back to bubbling, I'll come back and show you all what it's like right before I put the lid on and drop the heat. So while it comes up to heat and starts bubbling, I tasted it, and it definitely needs a few things, mainly salt, pepper, a little bit of garlic powder, probably some Italian seasoning as well. One good thing that you can do with pasta sauce, I don't unfortunately have one of these tonight, is you can stick a whole sprig of basil down in there, stem and all, and just let it cook with the sauce and pull it out right before you serve. That permeates it with that basil flavor in a really nice accented way. Also, and this is for if you're making tomato sauce from scratch, which I'm not doing tonight, obviously, but if you are, another really great addition during simmering is the rind of a Parmesan cheese wedge. It tempers the acidity and really enriches the flavor of the tomatoes. It's a little secret that Some people don't know, so yeah. But I've given this a taste. I've re-seasoned it a little bit. You want to kind of gradually season this, so every time you taste it, or every time you check it and stir it while it simmers, taste it, adjust, and go from there. Always remember, you can always add more seasoning. You can't take it back. So, slow and steady wins the race. I wanted to show you all what the garlic bread looks like before it goes in the oven. We've got a half of a loaf of Italian bread, cut in half and then cut in half again basically. Generous spread of butter, some fresh garlic, some Italian seasoning. We're going to wrap it up in foil, put it in the oven at about 350 for 6 to 7 minutes, and then open it up and broil it until the top gets really nice and crispy. And this is just about what you want your sauce to be looking like. You can't see the sausages, but they are still in there and are fully cooked. After about an hour and 15 minutes in the sauce, stirring about once every 10 to 15 minutes and tasting, adjusting for flavor. So we're just going to kind of let this thing bubble like this until the pasta and the garlic bread are done. For the pasta, I'm just using boxed pasta. You can do whatever you want, cook it to the recommended time and method on the box. But yeah, I'll get back to y'all with the finished product in just a few. And here we have the finished product. We've got some pasta with meat sauce, sausages, and garlic bread. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great night.